part 2 of my videos in a series, and this one's called No Erasin' What, Steve Perry, and I'll be right back. Hello everybody, Gary Stuckey here. Welcome back to another episode of Steve Perry News. This is part 2 of a series of videos I'm doing. I hope you liked the last one. Go check it out. It's talking about the song Anyway. What was Steve Perry saying anyway? Of course, you know, especially if you watched that video, he was talking about Journey. It was an apology for running away from Journey back in 1987. But that song was like part 1. Part 2 of the song was No Erasin'. A song that I believe was about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and reunions. Steve's even hinting around about that fact in the Jim Kerr interview. I've talked about it 1,000 times. But just like in the song Anyway, he repeats some things. Okay, and Anyway, he says, we believed in music brothers till the end. Nothing stood between us. A fire burned within. In No Erasin', he said, my soul's burning just like it was before. He's got that fire burning again because of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He had it, you know, with Anyway. The fire was put out, I guess, the trial by fire, right, was put out after all that happened, and we all know about that. And the band, you know, parted ways with Steve. But also in the song Anyway, we know it says, I never want to run again. I want to let you know. He's talking to Journey. He ran away from Journey because of all the problems he had. And he's had some problems in his life. You know, his mom, his daughter, there's things, you know, personal things, even, you know, with Kelly later. And he had to have some, you know, therapy. There's some hurtful things even that he revealed to Dan Rather. Some really hurtful things happened in his life. So he had to have some counseling. And I've been there as far as, you know, you want to run away from things. But he had to own up to it and face it. He had to face his fears. And I'm sure Kelly helped him out on a lot of that. You know, she helped him out. And that's why he came back the way he did with the song No Erasin', you know, and things in that album, and dedicated it to her. So he didn't want to run anymore. So that something was stirred up in him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, just like it was before. So I guess it's like he wanted to start over, and it looks like he's trying to start over. And I guess the wording on his song No Erasin', ironically, he's trying to erase all the bad stuff and just start over. Maybe that's why he's doing something with Lincoln Brewster, and maybe with Randy Jackson. Maybe that's why in the Traces album cover he's wearing his tails from the Raised on Radio days, because he wants to start where he left off. Be thinking about that while we read this article here. And this article was about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Ultimate Classic Rock asked if Steve was going to sing, you know, and Neil's, you know, take on that. Let's take a look at that. Ultimate Classic Rock also asked Shawn whether Journey, who scored top honors in a separate Rock Hall poll of fans' favorites, might use the Hall of Fame induction as a springboard to other projects. I've got other bigger master plans of what I'd like to do, and I've told management about it, Shawn said in the interview. I'd like to have a festival that's based around us where we can explore all the different time periods of Journey. I think there are a lot of people who would want to see that. So as you read here, as I just read, he wanted to do some kind of festival that includes all the past and present members of Journey, right? But you know, shortly after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you do remember a little band called Journey Through Time that included Neil Shawn, of course, and Greg Riley, who used to be in Journey, Dean Castronovo, who used to be in Journey, not in there no more. So there you go. He wanted to get some of the old members back, right? So, fast forward to recently, who does he get to come back? Randy Jackson. But not after he fires Ross, Valerie, and Steve Smith for the second time it happened. The first time was Steve Perry. This time was Neil. And I can't stop thinking about, that's just too much of a coincidence. Why would they do that? And my big question is, they're supposed to have new music, they said, in December of last year. Then he mentioned it again in January. And then they were doing like a little gig, I think in Las Vegas, like a corporate type event for the band in February. Ross Valerie had just had his birthday. Neil Shawn, Jonathan Cain's birthday was coming up. It was a great time. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, they get fired because of this coup attempt. I don't even know the whole story. You know, I'd like to believe that they're going to work it out. And maybe, just maybe, somehow they are. Something just isn't adding up, because just out of the blue. So, but it sounds to me like they already knew that this was going to happen. You know, and I'm just speculating. But that seemed like this would have messed up their plans for everything, but it didn't until, what, late February, early March. They dropped the bomb, and those guys are gone. It just seems like they would have known a lot more than what they were saying. And hopefully I'm right. Hopefully this was planned. And I do know that Ross Valerie and Steve Smith wanted to retire. They didn't want to do it anymore. Right? And, you know, it's at the end of their career. They're all getting older. Even Steve Perry. You know, it would make sense, just like I told Eddie Trunk. They're getting older. Why don't they have a reunion? It makes a lot of sense. So would Steve consider a reunion? Well, Neil Shawn thinks so. And let's go back to what he said in 2012, I believe, about would Steve ever, you know, rejoin Journey. Could Journey be calling it quits? Maybe not, according to guitarist Neil Shawn, but he's definitely had thoughts about how he wants to go out on a sustained high note. In a new interview, he reveals that he's open to having former lead singer Steve Perry join the band for one last go-round. I can't talk about the future because I don't have a crystal ball, Shawn told Classic Rock, but I can say that if Steve Perry wanted to come back and do some kind of reunion tour, I think it would have to be in a time zone when we are feeling like we're done. So we do know, as Neil Shawn just said in that article with Ultimate Classic Rock in 2012, that if there was, you know, some kind of retirement, you know, when they're at the end, the very end of their careers, they could get Steve Perry to come back, right, and do like a final farewell tour, and Arnell would step aside. Now, he said this like 8 years ago, and Arnell's still there. So is this the final hurrah? Maybe they knew that this is it. Now, they are getting older. I know Neil Shawn does not want to stop. And he always wants to play guitar. So was that his plan this whole time? Well, part 3, I'll let you know something tomorrow. And I've got some more information that'll help you make up your mind and to see if you believe me. And until next time, everybody, whatever you do, don't stop believing. This is Gary Stuckey. God bless you.